Fencing has been installed at Ogden Plaza in Streeterville to help stop potential teen takeovers. Alderman Brian Hopkins says the fencing is precautionary and will only be up through the weekend. He says Ogden Plaza is a popular spot where teens gather, and the goal is to keep them from spilling out into the streets and traffic.
He said the disruptive gathering of teens in Streeterville is not something that the city will tolerate, but one downtown alderman says residents and businesses want more than just strong words to make them feel safe. A summer-like evening downtown turned ugly on Friday after an estimated 300 young people descended on Streeterville. Dozens of police were in the area to handle the crowd. At one point, shots were fired and a 15-year-old boy was shot in the leg.
Nobody wants to experience that level of disruption, and we're certainly not tolerating it, and I never have.
The mayor suggested today that one way to address the problem was by providing more positive activities and places for teens to gather.
There are investments that the city can make, and then there are things that I know that the business community, they want to do more. And many of them have leaned in, but we do need them to do more.
The mayor also appealing to churches to provide more safe places for young people. But one downtown alderman ramping up his push for making the 10 p.m. curfew earlier, noting that time is when police could finally intervene and deal with the crowd, making numerous arrests.
So we had to wait till 10 o'clock because that's the current law. If we could start at 8 o'clock, we could break these crowds up earlier and prevent the kind of violence that's breaking out.
Working to relocate or displace the problem is not how we solve the problem.
Hopkins insisting tough talk is not enough.
It seems like he doesn't have any real interest in this immediate solutions. Once you get 300 teenagers to take over the streets, that's not the time to talk about building a community center or having a job fair. You have to have an immediate response to that.
An man beat up on the Orange Line by a group of more than a dozen kids. Tonight, he's sharing his story.
It happened downtown Monday night at about 11:15. Elizabeth Matthews spoke with the victim and has the latest. Elizabeth.
The victim is a lifelong Chicagoan, 63 years old, just trying to get home from work Monday night on the Orange Line after he says a 12-hour workday when a group of kids got on his train and he became a target.
What are I'm looking for, Alderman? I'm going to veto. That's the word. And he did. In an effort to override the veto, which is a possibility, has not been done for many, many years. Alderman Hopkins, you failed, but I would suggest Chicago is the loser in some ways of all of this. Are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
And, I would agree with you, Steve. We came close. We came close to a historic veto override. I was 6 votes short of where I needed to be, and I actually picked up one from between the time that the ordinance originally passed to the time we had to veto override motion. So we were moving in the right direction, but just came up a little bit short, too late. And unfortunately, as you said, it's really the city that suffers because this is a common sense policy that can be used to quell these violent events when they happen. Had 2 that happened so far this year, and there's a reasonable assumption that another one will happen again. And now the police will have less of an ability to break it up when it happens.
Is there also an overriding feeling here that if you're a man or woman in blue, a member of the police department, that you are not getting the support from the mayor's office, and as a result, a morale issue potentially among those in the police department?
Yeah, no question about that.
So, Alderman, let's turn for a moment to what we've been watching happening in D.C. over the past couple of weeks, and with the Trump administration signaling that the same may happen in Chicago with respect to a more aggressive federal role in Chicago law enforcement. What do you see the city council doing in terms of protecting local control while still addressing public safety concerns?
Yeah, both the governor and the state attorney general have drawn a pretty clear line in the sand, and they're not going to accept anything similar to what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. But frankly, I don't think it's actually going to happen. Now, that's not to say the bluster that we hear coming out of this administration can be dismissed. It can't be. The fact that they're comfortable enough rattling their sabers in a way that is clearly to me is so unconstitutional. it's almost laughable if it wasn't real. They're not going to follow through on it. It's not going to happen here in Chicago. But just the fact that we're actually having to have this conversation and respond to it, it should disturb all of us. It should be a very unsettling harbinger of what the future could be as this administration just careens out of control, towards a banana republic type of dictatorship. If he ever does get full command of the military, the way we've seen in, Central and Latin American countries in the last century, what would he do with it? I think the answer is pretty clear, and we just have to be prepared to stop it. However we can, whatever legal means, and it becomes more of a social issue than anything. Americans in general have to wake up and realize that now is the time to preserve the way of life that we cherish as a Western liberal democracy, liberal and not in the political sense, but in the characteristic sense of the type of government that we're comfortable with. That is in jeopardy right now because we have elected a president who's pushing the envelope farther than anyone ever dared to push it before. And his threats to come to Chicago with a militarized National Guard, as absurd as that sounds on its face, we have to take it seriously.
Chicago's mayor, in a statement, said unlawfully deploying the National Guard to Chicago has the potential to inflame tensions between residents and law enforcement. There are many things the federal government could do to help us reduce crime and violence in Chicago, but sending in the military is not one of them. Also, Governor Pritzker called the idea, quote, an authoritarian power grab of major cities. Trump has also threatened to send troops to New York City as well.
I'm standing here tonight with buyer's remorse because I supported Mayor Brandon Johnson. I feel like a fool right now. I feel like a plum fool. But I tell you what, it's okay. Because as I said last night, you can slap us in the face by ignoring us today, but we are punching you in the face by ignoring you at the polling places.
It's costly, illegal, and unconstitutional. I'm going to use every single tool that is at my disposal in order to keep the people of the city safe.
Under federal law, President Trump cannot unilaterally call up the National Guard unless he invokes things like the Insurrection Act. But that's not stopping him from making statements like this.
The people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come.
Subscribe and make sure to like and share this post, which helps to get the message spread around. Also, add your comments. We want to hear from you.